Here are the 30 life lessons I learned in 2023. This year has been absolutely insane. It's been a complete emotional roller coaster. And from my lowest lows and my highest highs this year, I really did learn a lot. So, my goal of today is I want to share with you 30 things I learned. Starting off with number one, and that is I really truly learned this year. It's something I always knew, but I never really learned it, really believed it until I had no options. And that was I learned that no one is going to save you but you. I realized this when I was at I would say my lowest low of the year. It was after I made a decision not so smart, and basically I was pretty much homeless. I was forced to house hack. I was bouncing around from house to house, sleeping on different people's grounds, and then from there the entire time I was going to work full time, acting like everything in my life was, peach and cream. The entire time I was always smiling at work. Really, no one ever know anything was wrong with me. And it's interesting though because I learned that really happiness is really your choice, and that's something I'm going to get into a little bit later. And this point brings me to my next one, and that is number two, and that is don't hold grudges and learn to forgive. That's the one thing I really did learn this year. And the reason why I learned that was because, like I said, at that point I felt like I was at my rock bottom again. So, when I was there, I realized that this year I lost a lot of people in my family, and lots of them, I guess you'd say, I held this resentment towards them. And then once they were gone, they're all the resentment I was having towards them, was always there for really much no reason, because now they're dead and I'm never going to see them ever again. So, I guess what I'm saying is, it's better to forgive someone while they're alive than to wait for them to die and then regret not forgiving them. Because for me, for example, I had a lot of resentment towards certain people in my family, but that resentment, I always still engaged with them. But I guess you could say I never really was able to engage with them to the fullest level because I would have these things in the back of my head that prevented me from truly connecting with them, because secretly deep down I still felt a certain way about them. And I wish I would have just forgave them while they were alive. Well, I don't think wish is really the appropriate word to say because I don't regret anything I ever do, but it's more of, it's the wonder. I wonder what would have happened if I would have forgave them while they were alive. Would I have treated them differently, and what a relationship would have been better? Just something like that. And number three is, this is perhaps, I think, one of the most important lessons I learned this year, and that is, it's better to lose money fast than slow. Let me explain, because you're probably thinking, what the hell does that mean? Okay, so this year, I spent about 20 grand of my own money, and don't get me wrong, by no means am I rich. I spent 20 grand on coaching and mentoring. I spent 12 on one program and another 8 on another program. And I do have to say, I do feel a lot of mixed emotions about it. What I have to say is, it's better to lose money fast and slow, because what I'm saying is, whenever you buy something like coaching or mentoring, you're getting stored time. And specifically, what I mean by lose money fast and slow is, one of the things I thought about all the time is, okay, so is it better to, slowly lose the money or lose it all at once? Because this is what happens. Either way, you still get the lesson. You can either get the lesson instantly, or you can wait years and years and years to get the lesson. And what I'm saying is, time is the most valuable asset. It's the one thing that you can never get back. You can always get back more money, but you can never get back more time, which is why it's so important. Which is actually something that I did learn this year, but I didn't put on the list. And that is, time is your most valuable asset. It's something you can never get back. Once it's gone, it's gone. You can always get money, but you can never get time. And also, elaborating a little bit on it, the reason also why I said this is because I noticed whenever, for example, I'll be running ads for my business. Okay, so you can either spend $100 in a day, or you can spend $100 over 10 days. No matter what, if you spend $100, you're still going to get the same amount of collective data, which is also why I made that statement. It's better to lose money fast than lose money slow. Now, I think this is probably one of the most impactful things I recently learned, and it's been absolutely transformative. So I read this one book called Eat That Frog. It's 21 productivity hacks that actually work. I think that's the subheadline or something like that. And basically what Eat That Frog means is, it's very simple. It's the first thing they talk about in the book. And what it means is, as soon as you wake up, you should do the hardest thing of the day that you're gonna do first. It sounds so strange, like that sounds so obvious. And then since I started doing that, my productivity has completely transformed. My business has never had so much growth ever. And the reason for that is simply because I'm doing the boring work. It's just the work that no one wants to do, but it's the work that has to be done. And since I've been sitting down and doing the boring work first and doing the thing that's the most important, it's insane how much more productive I've been. Because if you think about it, in the morning is when you're at peak productivity. Then from there, you just become less and less productive. So that's exactly how you need to organize your schedule. You need to organize from the hardest thing early as possible to the least hardest thing, to least hardest, to least hardest, to least hardest, till eventually, to the end of the day, you're doing the easiest activity you could possibly do. So how I like to start my day is, I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna like work on product development, because product development really requires a lot from me, like energy-wise. So then after product development, I'll then go into like practicing copywriting. Then after copywriting, I'll go into writing emails, because that's like nice and easy. And then from there, I'll go into filming content, because filming content is just natural for me. I just flow off the top of my head. And then after I film all the content, for example, the next day, I'll then put, like product development, then video editing, then copywriting, etc. So that was one of the most valuable things. One of the really most valuable things I learned. It's so hard to condense this all into a list. I was just trying to think of the most impactful things I learned. Because I would say realistically, this list could probably be like thousands of things I learned, but these are the most impactful. Oh, and 6, I learned this from Alex Ramosi. He made a video about it. I think it's called like Why Don't Go Home for the Holidays. And inside the video, he talks about don't be a people pleaser, essentially. I'm just paraphrasing what he said. I thought that was so impactful because, for the longest time, specifically with my other side of my family, I felt like I really didn't connect with them a lot, and many times people would be very passive aggressive. And for the longest time, I would feel like out of obligation that I have to respect this person or treat them a certain way because they're my elder. And now I'm at the point where I'm like, if you don't respect me, and even if you say you do, actions speak louder than words. So if someone is going to sit here and come at me the entire time in a passive aggressive way, I'm just not going to put up with it anymore. So what I used to do, I used to go there, expose myself to these situations. I'll be feeling uncomfortable the entire time. I feel like I'm walking on eggshells. And now I'm like, okay, I'm just not going to go. And when they text you, it's like simple. They're like, hey, Aaron, do you want to get together? You just ignore them. Or you literally reply and tell them straight to their face, no, I do not want to spend time with you because every single time I'm due, you make me feel like X, Y, Z. And they can either accept it and try to improve, or they won't change and you'll just cut them out of their life. I started doing that on so many different aspects of my life, rather if it's like, family members, relationships, or anything else. I felt this huge transition of just peace. I can't explain it. It's funny because when these last like 30 days, I've been by myself pretty much in isolation for the exclusion of when I went to go to my job. Other than that, it's just literally just been the business, looking within, and just growing as a person. And I can tell you these last 30 days have been an absolute transformation. I know from today to now, from today to 2024, some crazy things are gonna happen. And I know because I've been starting to look within, and I've been starting to fix my problems. And when it comes to that, I want to say, and that's also number 7, I learned this from Brandon Carter. And he basically made this one video about how he tracks everything in Google Calendar. I'm like, okay, let me do this. It's not gonna make that big of a difference. And holy moly, I've been doing this now for 6 months. I've never stopped since. It's been so addicting to pre-plan out everything. I know exactly what I'm gonna do a month in advance, when I'm gonna do it. It's so freeing. And it also makes you more productive because you stop wasting time. And there's this paradox, I can't remember what it's called, but basically what happens is when you start tracking something, you start to become aware of how much waste there is, and you subconsciously start to change. So what happened was when I first started, I was tracking everything, and I was like, wait a minute. I used to spend 6 hours a day on my business doing what? I have no idea. Now I get the same amount of work done. So what I used to do in 6 hours, I now get done in 2. The only difference is I have it pre-planned before I even start the day. It's so insane. Simply by, doing like planning things out 10 to 15 minutes the day before will save you hours of wasted time. I never realized how much time, like how much kind of energy we waste when we try to figure out, okay, what is it that I have to do tomorrow? Or what is it that I have to do today? And then you're trying to think of all the stuff. Versus if you were to just sit down and write everything down. And as soon as a new idea comes in your head, you put it into your calendar, and at that given time is when you do it. You make everything like a schedule, and you're like boom, 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 and you will start to hit all of your goals. I can't explain it. You just have to do it. I'm actually gonna make a video on it in the future. And it's so impactful, and it will change your life. And 8. Oh, this is number 8. Read more, boys. Knowledge is power. This year, I read 40 books. And when I tell you, I've never read so much in my entire life. I've never read so much in my entire life. And the funniest thing is, this is the busiest I've ever been in my entire life. But it's reality. You make time for things that are important. This is what I did, okay? So I would get the book, and then I would get the audiobook. So what you do is, when you're driving, you listen to the audiobook. And then when you're like sitting down, you're just resting, that's when you read. You only need to read about an hour a day, I would say, to read about a book a week on average. Because that's all I did. I would just read an hour a day for 7 days a week, pretty much the whole year. Absolutely, it will completely transform your life. I learned from some of the greatest people of all time. I learned from like the richest man of Babylon. These people are like, this book was made 100 years ago and the author is dead. I read How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So many amazing books. No BS Marketing by Dan S. Kennedy. So many amazing books that have completely transformed my life. And this stuff is the only reason why I'm here today. And I know that knowledge is power because since the beginning of this year, I'm not exaggerating, I had negative $300 in my bank account. And today, this is the closest I've ever been in my entire life to having, what is that? 6 figures? Yeah, to having 6 figures in my bank account. Closest I've ever been. And this all happened within 1 year. Literally from day 1 of January 1st last year to now, I have more than doubled my income. Yeah, because I 4x my income this year. Because my income was originally something, and then it doubled again, and then it doubled again. So I 4x my income in 1 year, all from reading. I'm telling you guys, if you guys want to make more money, you have to be reading, because knowledge is stored time. And that actually brings me to my next point, which is invest in yourself. If I was given $1,000, and this is actually what happens right now. So, it's Christmas time, you're getting money from people. What I did is, what most people do is they go buy stupid shit. What I've been doing is, I've been taking all that money and investing it back in my education. In my education, I came to books, courses, coaches. But specifically what I've been doing is with all the Christmas money I got, I've either been investing it, or I've been saving it, or I've been buying books. And holy moly. All this, because I'm telling you, the best way to level up is to just learn more. Because when you learn and you take action on what you learn about, you get a massive advantage over everybody else. Because what all people do all the time is they hear stuff, but they never use it. I'm getting so excited. I've been wanting to film this for the longest time, but I just never have. And that is, oh my God, number 10. This is impactful. I gotta get close to camera for this one. Your emotions do not matter. So you're probably thinking, okay, Aaron, so you're telling me that you plan all this stuff in your calendar, right? And so what happens when you don't feel like doing this stuff? Because guess what? There's some days you wake up, you're like, oh man, I really don't want to do product development today. It's just so damn difficult. It's requires so much brain power. And then you're like, Aaron, emotions don't matter. All the most successful people in the world were able to push their emotions to the side. And this is another thing. Your emotions are not real. You just have to learn to accept them. Because your emotions will come and go. Some days you'll feel motivated, some days you'll be happy. Sometimes you'll be sad. But if you were to look at it, okay, at the base activity, okay, even if you think about it from a logical standpoint, you're like, okay, so today I'm motivated to go to the gym. And then the next day, I'm not motivated to go to the gym. What's the difference? The activity is exactly the same. Either way, the result is going to the gym. So your emotions should have no correlation to what you do and what you don't do. So that's what you just have to learn to accept. You're like, if I do not feel like doing this, that is okay. Because it is not a matter of if I feel or if I don't feel like doing it, but it's a matter of a must. I have to do this because this is for me. This is for future me. And I know what future me wants. And the me today is willing to do anything to get there. So if it means I have to put my feelings to the side and just do what needs to be done, that is what will be done. Man, I'm starting preaching. Can I get a witness? Can I get a witness? Oh boy, this one was hard. This one I kind of said out earlier, but this kind of has to tie with the whole emotional thing when it comes to people and not pulling up with their shit. And that is, stop lying. Because the truth will always come on the end. This is something I've always struggled with. For the longest time, I always lie to people. Not like about like big stuff, but like more about emotional stuff. So I'll be lying to people to their face. And then I realize I'm like, by me lying to them, the only person I'm hurting is myself. Because they're thinking that everything is, peaches and cream, and I'm over here like suffering. So I'm like, okay. The one thing I learned at this point is I will never lie again about my emotions. I'm just gonna, from like new people I meet, I just tell them from the very beginning the absolute truth and nothing but the truth. Because lying does not get you anywhere except for it just hurts you. So that's all I'm gonna say on that spiel. I don't want to really talk about the emotional stuff because no one wants to hear that stuff. Yeah. So 13 was just invest in the coaching and mentoring programs, but I kind of already covered that, so I'm just gonna skip that. Oh, 14. I learned this from Rich. I learned this inside one of my coaching programs, and that is, money is an idea. It's just stored time. When you start to understand the concept that money is really just time, it's when you start to acquire more of it. Because if you think about it like this, okay, so when you work, when you work a job, you get money, but guess what the money is for? It's the amount of time that you gave to the company. And if you even think about it, the reason why people want to be rich is because they want to be able to do the things like they want to go on, have expensive yachts, they want to go on vacation, have beautiful women around them. But if you think about all these things, how do they have to acquire these things? They have to, the reason, like, for example, there wouldn't be such a want to be rich if people had lived forever. But the reality is, the average person, last to my knowledge, only lives to 77. So you're like, well, if I'm making $15 an hour, and even if I were to save my money, if I'm only saving 10% of my money, by the time I'm 60, I'm not gonna have enough money saved up to do all these things. Which is actually why people want more money now, and they want it because they want more stored time. They want the time, because since we don't live forever, they know that they're slowly running out, so they want to be able to do all the things that they want to do before they take their last breath, which is why, to some people, money is such a scarce resource. I don't know if I articulated that well, but I'm sure some of you will understand. Ooh, this is 15. No, this is number 15. This one was huge for me, and that is have a weekly evaluation to see where you can improve. So something I started doing is, since I started tracking all my time, I can see like, okay, so this is where I'm doing good at, this is where I'm doing bad at. So I'm like, okay, so from there, every single week, you take a moment, like maybe 30 minutes, an hour, and you evaluate, okay, like, what can I do to improve my life? And you just ask yourself simple questions like, if future me were to be looking at the stuff I did this week, would future me be proud of me? And if the answer is no, then you know what you need to improve upon. It's like, okay, well, this week, I spent too much time watching TV, I've been slacking on my reading, I didn't go to the gym enough, I should have ate more water, I should have drank more water, you can't eat water, I should have ate healthier food, just simple stuff like that. Just by simply checking yourself, it's gonna transfer, because trust me, you don't let yourself just slack off forever. Because you're doing this on a regular basis, 7 days is enough time to see if you are reaching your goals, and at the same time, it's also enough time for you to change. "16. Your dream is going to require some serious sacrifice. How bad do you want it?" I can't lie, 16 just gave me some chills, because I feel like this year, all I've done is make sacrifice after sacrifice to be here. Sorry, I'm kind of getting emotional. But rather if it's, sorry. I just feel like I want to cry. Not going to, but it's just so moving, because you really don't stop to think about how much you sacrifice until you really just don't think about it. But on a high note, I was just saying this here, I knew that I needed to invest money into my education. So what I did was I worked 80 hours a week for about 3 or 4 months. I kind of lost track. No, yeah, 4 months. So I worked 80 hours a week. I worked at a Chipotle, a pet store, and then I would do day trading. And I was able to make enough money to pay for coaching programs. So that was one of the sacrifices. I had to not do the things I wanted to do. So in the summer when everyone was, having fun and stuff like that, really the only thing I did was work 80 hours. And then maybe I would like stay up late at night and then I would have fun. I'd get like one day off a week from one job. And so that would be my work schedule. And then all that money was then allocated into my business and my education, into books and stuff like that. And then even when it comes to like people, when you start to, which I think is actually my next point, is your dream is gonna, and 17 is you're going to lose people when you better yourself, and that's okay. And it's gonna be lonely sometimes, but it's only a season. So that was actually the next point, which is hilarious because these two tie together perfectly. And that is when you start to better yourself so much to that extensive level, you're gonna start to lose people, and your dream is gonna be what's gonna move you on the days you feel lonely. Because I remember just recently I had to lose someone that I really loved, but I had to leave them because I know what I want, and they were sucking the life out of my dream. I was looking at the hours spent with them compared to on my business, and it was just day and night. I'm like, all the time I spend with this person is getting taken away from my business. I'm like, well, if I can't just sit there and work, like it would be one thing if we were working together, but we're not. So because of that, I'm like, well, I know what my top priority is, and that's this. And there is no Aaron without this. This is part of my identity at this point. I've been doing this now for the past 6 years. So no one is going to come between me and my goal. No one. Literally no one. So that's why I'm filming this right now. And I just want to reframe that you're going to have a season where you're going to be lonely as you start to better yourself, but that's also the gift and the curse to it. Because during that time where you're lonely and you're losing people that are like you, the new version of you, are going to start to creep in. Because there's not many of us out here that are determined to do everything, to accomplish big things. So the people that do think like us, we're magnetic to each other. We're like, hey, are you a go-getter? I'm a go-getter too. Some of the best people I've ever met was inside my masterminds. So I would join a mastermind, and then I would every single time I joined a mastermind, this is always my strategy. DM every single person, then from there, the select few that I really click with, we then become really good friends. And then whenever I need help on something, or they need help with something, we reach out to each other and we build each other up because we're all in the same industry. So then we all become bigger and bigger tycoons together. And then when everyone is sitting over here arguing about, oh, he's my competitor, dumbass, we're here working together, dominating the competition. Because the reality is, there is no success without people. So what I like to do is I like to build my team up when we all go up together. So once we get there, all the guys at the bottom are stuck saying, oh, blah, 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 blah. And we're here all laughing, drinking champagne together. So anyhow, then I got 18. And this is huge. And that is your environment has a huge impact on your mood and your productivity. So I noticed that when I worked in my room, I was less productive than when I was in a different place, which is why I started going to literally libraries, coffee shops, bookshops, just stuff like that, literally just to work. Now, if you think about this from a logical standpoint, it makes sense. So what happens is when you're in a certain place all the time, your brain starts to associate certain things with that area. So for my room, my bed is only used for sleeping. That's it. So every single time I lay down on my bed, guess what? I fall asleep instantly because my brain knows the only time Aaron's here is to sleep. Like, you should never work in your bed, eat in your bed, or anything like that unless you're sick. Because when you need to program your brain to only associate your bed with one thing, and that is sleep, and you will always be able to fall asleep instantly. That's exactly what I teach all my clients too. And then from there, when it comes to deep work, I know that this is a problem I used to have with my chair. So I know when I sit down in this chair, I might play video games, or I might work, or I might watch YouTube. So that's why I'm like, okay, so what can I do to just have complete deep focus? Completely took that out. Because the problem is my brain is trying to associate my chair on my computer in my room with several different things, versus when I go to the library or a coffee shop or if I'm in like a room like this in the studio, I can just sit down and my brain knows this is only for work, nothing else. So when I sit down, I can have deep focus. And that's exactly why I can just sit here and talk all day. And that's also why the gym is so great. The gym, the real reason why I think everyone should get a gym membership is because, I don't know about you, but for some reason I just can't work at home. And the reason for that is because my brain has associated, the gym with exercise, and my house is associated with comfort. So when I'm in the gym, I'm like, this is an area of discomfort, which is why it's so much easier to overexert yourself in the gym than it is when I'm in my room. I don't know what it is, but I feel like if I'm doing like calisthenics or something like that, like bodyweight exercises, it takes like a different level of concentration when I'm at home to push myself to the level I do at the gym. And it has everything to do with environment, and that is strictly it. Ooh, this is a good one. Number 19. You decide when you are a winner. For years, I felt like a loser. But now, for the first time ever, I feel like a winner. I remember, like 3 months ago, for the first time ever, I told myself, Aaron, I'm proud of you. And even just saying that's gave me the chills. Because it's so funny, because when you are a winner, you always feel like a loser. For at least that's how I used to feel. Like, because I know people always say, like, well, if you're doing better than the next person, then you're doing good. That's a terrible mentality. You mean to tell me, since I'm doing better than someone that's in a third world country, I'm doing good for myself? Come on now. I mean, yes. Like, if you think about it globally, okay, I'm living better than a king did, 10,000 years ago. Or 5,000 years ago. But if you think about it, like how humans actually work, we always compare ourselves to other people. So when you open up social media, I mean, I don't personally use social media, but all the people I look up to are all doing better than me. So all the time, I'm comparing myself to them. So I'm like, okay, so one of the guys I look up to, really, it's like a $100 million portfolio, Alex Hormozi. And then another guy, and like, I love Elon Musk so much, he's so interesting. So if you just were to think about it like that, I'm comparing myself to a billionaire. If you compare me to a billionaire, I'm like nothing. So whenever I used to always feel like nothing really, because I always be comparing myself to them. And then I realized, I'm like, the only thing that you can really compare yourself to is you. Because the reality is, I'm probably never gonna be Elon Musk. I'm gonna do everything in my damn power to try. I mean, the goal is to become a billionaire, which I'm sure I can do. But I don't know if I can become like an Elon. Trust me, I can sell some stuff, that's easy. But that's like a different level of intelligence, because that man he can code all this stuff. I mean, I'm even doing it right now. I'm putting myself down and putting him on a pedestal. It's a weakness, but it's something that I'm always working on. But going back to what I was saying though, for the first time ever this year, I felt like a winner. And it's a damn good feeling. And I think that's the real reason I've been starting to win, is because I've been telling myself that I am a winner. And I know that telling yourself as a winner is very powerful, because there's even multiple studies done. They've had kids, okay, so they had 2 rats, okay? So they put 2 rats in a cage. The first rat was just like a normal rat. And the other one got an injection, so like it would be proven that he was gonna win. So you have rat A that's all natural, and you have rat B that's all on steroids. So they put him 2 in a cage. Obviously rat B is gonna win because he's on freaking steroids. And then it's interesting. Then they put rat A on steroids, and then take rat B off of them, and they put them both in the same cage. And guess who wins? You're probably thinking the rat on steroids. But no, it's the rat that isn't on steroids. And the reason why he won is because rat A was in a loser mentality, even though he's all beefed up. And the last rat is all natural now, but since he has a winner's mentality, he wins the fight. It's insane. And that's exactly how humans work. It's also why the rich get richer, because they get this constant feedback loop of winning, 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 winning. So all you do is win. Same exact reason how the opposite happens. People are like, oh my God, I feel like no matter what happens, my life is always falling apart. And their life is always falling apart because they're stuck in that loser mentality. They're like, no matter what I do, nothing works. No matter what I do, nothing works. So this is the rich getting higher and higher and higher. And this is, I don't want to say say less fortunate. They go down and down and down. It's all about this. Success is a mentality. Once you decide you are successful, it's the day you become successful. Because once you truly believe you are, you will start to only act like a successful person would. And that's exactly what happened to me this year. This year has been a complete transformation. I cannot articulate it, but that's why I had to film this video, because my goal is I'm gonna share some time with you. Oh my, I'm getting so hyped. Ooh wee. Oh, number 20, this is a good one. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Online, if someone is making some promise, just prepare yourself mentally, because what they're saying probably does have a degree of truth to it, but it's definitely not gonna be as easy as you think it is. You know, there's this thing I learned about this year, and I thought it was amazing. I learned it from Alex Hormozi, but it turns out it's like actually like something real. So it's called the cycle of emotion. And I thought about it, I'm like, this is literally entrepreneurship, you know, the art of owning a business in like one sentence. And that is, you have like 5 stages. It's called the emotional cycle of change. So you go from stage 1 to being unformed optimism. So you first find out about a new idea. It's amazing. You're like, oh my God, it's the best way to make $1 million. I'm gonna be a millionaire in 90 days. Then from there, you go to stage 2, which is informed pessimism. You're like, well, this kind of sucks. This isn't as easy as I thought. And then you go to the number 3, which is the valley of despair, which is where you're at the lowest low, and this is where most people quit. But this is where you just have to keep on going, because you already know everything you need to do. You just need to keep on taking action, and eventually things will work. And then bam, you get your breakout, and you're now at informed pessimism, and then you get to the stage 5, which is success and fulfillment. And then it just repeats over and over and over and over again. Because once you break past success and fulfillment, you now have a new goal, and then you go back, and if you want to get that goal, you have to go back to uninformed pessimism, back to informed pessimism, back down to the valley of despair, until eventually you get out of it again. So, yes, there's that. Ooh, this is like a mental trick I learned that I really started implementing in every aspect of my life. It's called inverted thinking. It was made popular by Albert Einstein, and Charlie Munger often talks about it a lot. And it's like kind of corny, but it's like start with the end in mind. So what I mean by that is called inverted thinking. So for example, if you were to have a problem like, okay, so how do you lose weight? Instead of trying to lay out the steps, you ask yourself, okay, so how do I become fat? Different kind of question, but our brains are programmed to focus on the negative, not the positive. It's unfortunate, but if you think about it from a survival standpoint, it makes sense, because you're like, okay, I'm gonna focus more on, how to survive and how to run away from the lion than, how to pick plants, for example. That's probably a bad analogy, but you understand what I'm saying. But from there, it's like, okay, I just lost my track of thought. Oh yeah, start with inverted thinking. So, it's like, how do you become fat? Well, it's like, eat fast food every day. Don't drink water, don't exercise, drink a lot of soda. Don't get any sleep. Simple things like that. Now what you do is you do the opposite. You're like, okay, well, if I want to become in shape, what would I do? Okay, so I wouldn't drink any soda. I would go to bed at a good time, try to get at least 7 to 10 hours per night. I would drink water. I would exercise. I would eat healthy food. Simple. That's exactly what you can do with pretty much any aspect of your life. That's exactly what I did for myself. I'm like, okay, so how do I become depressed? I always watch the news. I don't take care of myself. Eat unhealthy food. Expose myself around negative people. Never better myself. Okay, so how do I become happy then? Simple. I now know, since I know how to become depressed. I need to eat healthy food. Expose myself around positive people. Always learn. Become healthy. I don't remember the rest of the stuff I said, but you understand what I'm saying. Do that strategy with everything in your life, and you'll be amazed at the results you get. Oh, 22 is take risks. That's the one thing your boy is addicted to, is taking risks. Probably too much risk, and that is take risks. If it was easy, it wouldn't be worth doing, because we live in a mediocre ass society where no one wants to take risks. They all want the reward with no risk. So if you can just take the risk, good for you. Because what happens is you start to expose yourself to it. And the more risk tolerant you become, the more likely you are to succeed in whatever way you want to. I really have nothing else to say on this other than that if you want your life to change, you're going to have to take different kind of action. And in order for you to take different action, you're going to need to take some risk. But what I would say is there's calculated risk. Like, I'm not telling you to go start up $1 million company tomorrow, but what you can do is you're like, well, I don't have the money to start a business. Well, the first thing I'll say is, well, that's not an excuse. You need to make more money. Well, let's just play along. So, like, okay, I don't have the money to start a business. Okay, so what can you do to start your business today and lower the bar to entry as low as possible? First thing, well, I can just start filming videos to start getting my name out there. Okay, that makes sense. And then once people start to know who I am, then I'll start to put more money into it, and then I'll offer an ask. I'll try to sell people something. Okay, here you go. You guys have a solid business plan. It might take a couple of years, but you're just gonna have no financial capital risk, as assuming you already have a phone. So my point is, no matter what the endeavor is, try to lower the bar to entry as low as possible to make it as less risky as possible, and then take action on whatever it is before that you're worried about that you thought was gonna be risky. Number 23 is drugs don't help. I feel like this year I've had a whole bunch of different kinds of emotions, and if there's one thing I've learned, that no substance is ever gonna help you escape the pain of existing. It might help in the moment, but after, in the long term, you're always gonna end up regretting it. Even simple things with like cannabis. Yes, I mean, is it bad for you? I guess no, it's not gonna kill you, but it's just like the very act of putting something in your body that is not meant to be there. I just don't think it's ideal for human health. That's my perception. I know it's really controversial, but I'm not against cannabis, but I'm just saying. I think as a whole, you're much better off trying to learn how to control your emotions and turning to a substance, rather if it's caffeine, marijuana, pills, or alcohol to help relieve you of your pain. Instead, you're better off just facing it on, head first. But a lot of people don't do that though because it's hard. I'm telling you, there's nothing more liberating than confronting your pain head on and really taking control of it. And just really, the best way I learned is just accept it. Just say it's there and that's okay. It's not a bad thing, it's just part of being human. Because if I were to ask you, do you never want to be happy again? You'd obviously say no. Like, I would love to be happy. But then I'm like, okay, so you're telling me is you don't want to be happy. I mean, you want to be happy forever, but at the same time, you don't want to have any of the sadness. But the reality is you can't have no happiness if you didn't have sadness, because they're simply yin and yang. There can be no one without the other. It is just like how there must be rain and there must be sunshine. There always has to be the two in order for there to be balance. And if there is no balance, you're just simply living in the utopia. It's not reality. Oh boy, that kind of brings me to 24. That's just fall in love with the process. Because the reality is, I would have quit a long time ago. I would have quit 6 years ago if I would have been doing it only because I wanted the reward. And I'm talking about like right now, like the business. Or just working out in general. You need to actually enjoy the act of doing the activity and not be so fixated on the reward. Because personally what happened to me was, when I first started working out, the only thing I was persevering on was the reward. And after I got the reward and I got the body of my dreams, I fell into this valley of despair where I just feel no need at all to go to the gym because I already got what I wanted. I'm like, well, I look better than most people now, and I like the way I look, and I feel like I look like a superhero, but yeah, now what now? Because I never actually fell in love with the process. And now here I am, I've been in my journey now for, I've been training now for 11 years, and of that I spent 7 years weight training. So I've been weight training now for 7 years, and I got the body of my dreams, but I'm now like, okay, so now what? Because I'm really struggling to stay consistent in the gym because I have the result that I want. And I'm at the point now where I can literally just go to the gym twice a week, and I'll be able to maintain my body until my T levels decrease. So, that's one of the things I'm personally struggling with now, but I'm dealing with that problem, and I'm going to fix it. And then 25 is, if it's hard, it's probably worth doing. If it was easy, it wouldn't be worth doing. For example, no one ever really talks about, like, yes, should you be grateful that you can breathe? But no one ever talks about, oh my God, I'm so lucky I can breathe. Let me tell you why no one talks about it. Because for the most part, everyone can do it. So it's not seen as something as value because everyone can do it. And that's exactly why I'm saying, if it's worth doing, it's probably hard. Now, let's bring me to number 26. And that is, what I'm about to say is going to be very controversial. And if you don't agree with me, that's okay. because we're not the same person. And that is 26. And that's communication. This is the most important skill a human can possibly develop. Everything you could ever want is the only thing that's preventing you from being able to get it is your ability to communicate. If you were to think about the world's best salesmen, they can get pretty much anything in the world that they want because they're just master communicators. The art of sales is just the ability to be able to speak. If you can speak, you can pretty much get anything you could ever want. You're like, do you want $1 billion? Just learn how to talk, and I bet you someone will give it to you. And I know what I'm saying, to some people, it's going to sound absolutely insane, but if you were to think about it, people go to, a venture capitalist all the time. But let me tell you why they're able to get funded, because they have the ability to speak. Once you have the ability to speak, everything you can ever want is going to get unlocked. Now, the question should then be, okay, Aaron, so how do I do that? And that, my friend, is for you to go discover yourself. Because unfortunately, that I cannot, explain to you in the next, 10 minutes. That is something that takes, at least hours. It takes probably 1,000 hours to really learn, but that's okay. And that brings me to 27. You only get one life, so make it count. All the time, you hear stories about people that are old and they die with all this regret. And my goal has always been, if I were to die today, would I be able to say that I was proud of myself? That's always been my goal. I'm like, Aaron, if you were to die today, would you be able to know that you're doing everything in your power to get what you want? And the answer to that is no, then I know there's something I need to change. And that's something I try to ask myself on a regular basis. And I think because of that, that's why I've had so much growth. I mean, I 4x my income this year. And I'm very young at this point. My point is, if you want something, go get it. If you want to start that business, go do it. If you want to get in the best shape of your life, go do it. If you want to go tell your wife you love her after being divorced for years, go do it. I mean, if you want to have a kid, go do it. Just stuff like this. I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying, guys, life is so short. Don't die of regret. If you want to go take that vacation, figure out a way to go make it happen. My only advice would be, don't put yourself into that crippling credit card debt. But now that I got that off my chest, time to move to the next point. 28. I'm almost done, boys. You won't grow until you finally look within. This is something I talked about earlier, but it's only so true because, there's this one guy I worked with. His whole thing was, I always thought he was so full of crap because, his business model is like, he's like, I help entrepreneurs become men of high value. Corniest shit ever. It's so damn corny. I'm trying not to say the F-bomb. It takes everything in my power not to say it. But it's so freaking corny, man. And I finally am like, okay, let me just take a look within. So I started to ask myself these deep questions, and almost like it's meant to be, that's when everything really started to work out. I can't explain it, but it's like when you start to look within and really address all the things that are wrong with you, you start to put up with less BS, and you start to realize what you truly deserve. You're like, okay, I deserve to have $1 million. Like, okay, if you deserve to have $1 million, what does someone do that deserves to have $1 million? Well, they reach out to people all the time. They do cold outreach in the business. They then, they reach out to people that know more than them so they can learn what to do to get to that next level. I don't know. They read books. They do the boring work. They know that the only thing that matters is the numbers. Like, I'm just kind of going off the top of my head because I'm not there yet, but I know I will be because I'm doing everything in my power to get there. And at this point in my life, everything has been going up and up and up and up. Ooh. 29 is sometimes your best isn't good enough, and that's okay. My grandmother's dead now, and we did everything in our power to ensure that she wouldn't die. Because basically, long story short, she was a hoarder, and unfortunately, recently she fell down the stairs and she died. And we did everything in our power to ensure that wouldn't happen. Like, we would clean her. I think we cleaned her house 5 times and made it completely spotless. Like, I'm talking literally got garbages, huge dumpsters, filled them up to the brim, and made her house completely spotless several times. And she still fell down the stairs and died. And the reason why she fell is because there was stuff on the stairs. All that taught me is sometimes your best isn't good enough. But if you did everything in your power, like everything in your power, not what someone else can do, but everything you truly did, like you did to the best of your capabilities, that's okay. All you can do is try harder next time. And that thing that you were trying to get good at, you take with you for the rest of your life. And 30 is my last point, and that is it's better to be an action taker than do become a consumer. Now, at this point, if you're still here and you listen to this entire thing, I have to say huge hats off to you, because most people do not have the patience or the capability to sit down and listen to something so simple for a certain period of time, because people are weak-minded and they don't have focus. But I challenge you, if you actually did listen to this whole thing and you just watched it and you got some tidbits from it, I would challenge you to go back and listen to it again, except for this time, have a piece of paper and write down things that you think are really important, and they will follow you for the rest of your life. Because so many people, all we do is consume, consume, consume. We just watch videos to say, oh, that's a good idea. Oh, wow, I never knew you could start a business like that. Oh, I never knew you could do a push-up like that. Oh, I never knew there's a certain diet you could try that get you X, Y, Z result. But people never do it, and that I will never understand. But in short, this has been the 30 life lessons I learned in 2023. It's been a hell of a year. It really has been. I just want to say a huge thank you to you so much. I really do appreciate your support. I would not be here if it was not for you, and I really do mean that. The growth that we've been having recently has been absolutely insane, and I cannot articulate in words how much you guys mean to me. If you ever have any questions, I really do love all of you, and I when I say I truly mean it, like literally. I don't care how big I get. Once we hit 1 million subscribers, once we hit 10 million subscribers, if you send me a message, I will always do everything in my power to reply to it personally. So, thank you so much, and Merry Christmas. And I'll see y'all next year.